A proposed constitutional amendment aims to strengthen rights of crime victims in North Dakota. A supporting committee submitted a ballot measure to Secretary of State Al Jaeger for the November 2016 election.
Some efforts are underway to better protect Nevada's crime victims. Local advocate groups joining forces to amend our Constitution to require the state to offer more rights to victims of both violent and non-violent crimes.
An initiative that could change the state's constitution to give victims of crimes more rights could appear on the November ballot. The organizers of Marsy's Law say a crime victim bill of rights would raise the rights of victims to the same level as a person accused of a crime. Charles Deneau, the state director of Marsy's Law for Montana, says crime victims feel left out.
Hawaii is one of 18 states that don't have victims' rights in their constitution, but it does have constitutional rights for criminals. Iwamoto will be there when the House and Senate Judiciary Committees take up the bill on Tuesday.
He punched me in my left eye. He was arrested. An hour later, I went to the store and he was in the store. He began stalking me and he tried to kill me. I was not notified that he was bailed out. They were protecting him on his rights. You realize that you don't have rights. Marsy's Law empowers the victim. That's why Hawaii needs Marsy's Law.
My daughter's murderer does not deserve more rights than my family. Marsy's Law is an obvious step towards making things right. That is why Hawaii needs Marsy's Law.
Marsy's Law is going to emphasize for all of us in law enforcement the importance of protecting and supporting victims' rights. It's time for Marsy's Law in Hawaii.
Advocates hoping to change the justice system in South Dakota to give crime victims more rights say they're humbled to receive such a great amount of support for their cause. The group Marsy's Law for South Dakota has filed petitions to get an initiated constitutional amendment on the November 2016 general election ballot. The law would expand the rights of victims in a way that would be enforceable by a court of law. Advocates say it would give victims and their families the right to receive notification of proceedings for criminal cases and timely notifications about changes to the offender's custodial status, among other things.
I was sexually assaulted by a family friend from before I was 5 years old. It was printed in the newspaper after he was arrested that the accusations came from a 15-year-old girl from this small town. And the town was small enough that I was the only 15-year-old girl living there. So people put it together that it was me. I became anorexic, I self-harmed, and I tried to kill myself. Marsy's Law would have provided me with constitutional rights that would have protected me.
4 years ago, I was raped at a house party. Even though I went to the police, I was never told whether or not my rapist was charged or even arrested. I pulled up to the grocery store and he was out front in the parking lot with someone else, and it looked like they were having some car trouble, but I felt like I was victimized all over again. I think it's important for victims to feel like their voices are being heard. South Dakota crime victims deserve equal rights. It's time for Marsy's Law.
New this morning, we all know that suspects, defendants, and even convicted criminals have rights, but what about you? What if you or a loved one were to become a victim of a crime? What kind of rights do you have? Rebecca Schramm is live at the state capitol with a new effort to give victims the same rights as the accused. Rebecca?
Hi, Gloria. Well, imagine finding out from your Facebook feed that the person accused of killing your daughter is out of jail on bond. That kind of thing happens in Georgia all too often.
My daughter Renee was murdered in Chicago on Halloween night.
That was the victimization from day one. Nobody cared about us.
He told me to shut up, I'm gonna kill you. I had to constantly go to the police, ask for information about my case.
In the interest of achieving justice, we have to make a level playing field.
Marsy's Law would give victims the rights that we deserve that we don't have.
As a chaplain, I've counseled hundreds of crime victims who've had a murder in their family. I've been dreaming about something like Marsy's Law for 25 years because I've always wanted a constitutional amendment that had statutory power to it.
A bill to set up procedural rights for victims in the Kentucky Constitution is advancing in the Kentucky General Assembly. The proposed constitutional amendment by Senate Judiciary Chairman Whitney Westerfield would put victims' rights on the same legal footing as the accused.
It just hurts me that I know that I'm gonna have to go through this process again. Marsy's law would make me feel as if my son's life mattered. I would feel like I have some say-so, or at least notification of what's going on. It would make me feel as if I'm part of the process. I wouldn't feel left out. Kentucky crime victims deserve equal rights. It's time for Marsy's law.
The rights provided by Marsy's law are common sense. These are the things every victim of crime would want when they go through the criminal justice process. They have the right to be informed. They have the right to know what's going on with their case. They have the right to have input in the outcome of the case. They have a right to restitution. These are all basic things that anyone who is a victim of crime should be able to expect from Kentucky. Kentucky crime victims deserve equal rights. It's time for Marsy's law.